Scleran method. So Scleran method, okay, it is fully of supersonic flow method, and it is a practical and self-supported method for calculating flow inside the supersonic tunnel, and not for calculating the flow, that is we are just approximating the flow values exactly, but we can visualize the shock waves, formation of shock waves inside the supersonic tunnel. It's very simple that we can have this particular experimental setup of Scleran surrounding the tunnel. So it is a non-intrusive method and it won't disturb the fluid flow. Just you are passing the light, monochromatic light, with the help of parabolic lens, and after passing into parabolic lens, we have to receive the other end with the same parabolic lens, and we can record it through screens. It's very simple in construction. So compared to interferometer requires maximum amount of parts like lenses and mirrors, and then we have to check the nanometer level adjustments. But for this case of Scleran method, the nano level meter of adjustment is not going to happen here. Just we can keep the lenses with respect to different positions of adjustment, where we have to keep the knife edge, so we can focus it, the complete shadow of a particular medium, that is due to refraction. Due to refraction, we can have this particular thing in shadow. So in shadow form, we can visualize the shock waves. So this is the basic principle of Scleran method. So how this shadow form occurs? So the ray, that is the light ray, will follow a curved path bending towards the region of higher density and away from the region of lower density. So here we are going to consider the radius of curvature of light path. When a light path is passed into the intersection, and when it is passed into the intersection is having high density zone and then low density zone. So for high density zone, the light travels towards it, and for low density zone, light travels away from it. The light is traveling in curved path only, so that the light is moving with some radius of curvature throughout the high density object. So the radius of curvature only useful for predicting. The radius of curvature is only useful for predicting, and we can relate it with refracting index. So when you find the radius of curvature of particular thing, we could able to find the refractive index. When you find the refractive index using Gladstone-Dale relation, we could able to find the density of that particular object, right? So this is the method we are following for Scleran method. So here for Scleran method, in Satyabhama we are having this supersonic wind tunnel. Let us see the overall components of supersonic wind tunnel, and then with the help of Scleran method, we are visualizing the half-edged diamond body. So in half-edged diamond body, and this particular supersonic tunnel runs, it is an intermittent tunnel, short duration tunnel. It runs up to 5 seconds. We are setting the high pressure in the storage chamber. We have the 3 containers of storage chamber. In this 3 containers, we are storing with high pressure of air, and then with about 12 bars, and we are releasing with the help of regulator, where the flow is completely away. Let us see the components of this supersonic tunnel. So during supersonic wind tunnel installation in Satyabhama University, right? These are compressor switches. We are having multi-stage compressor, right? And then we have pressure sensors. That is nothing but pressure transducer. 8 pressure transducer are there. So one will be recorded ahead of the test section, the other will be in the nozzle section 6, and the other in the behind the test section. So behind the test section, we are going to measure the minimum stagnation pressure. So these are the pressure points in the nozzle. So total 6 pressure points are there. It is connected to pressure transducers, and then ahead we have the another pressure transducer, These are the storage tanks. We are storing the high pressure air inside the container with the help of two multi-stage compressors, right? This is the nozzle for silencer, which is used for reducing the noise which is coming out with high speed. These three are interconnected. All the first, initially we have the compressor unit. The compressor unit is connected with a single tank, and this tank is connected with the dryer, and then we have the dryer is connected to air cooler, and this air cooler and the dryer outlet is having filters, and this filters is distributed to other two tanks, right? So these are the multi-stage compressors. So this is the intermittent tunnel, which operates in short duration tunnel. So here you can see how it is connected. Now we are running the tunnel for up to 5 seconds. Just when you are releasing the pressure regulator, automatically flow occurs, supersonic flow occurs, and it getting impacted on the model. And here you may look up on the oblique shock, which operates up to 5 seconds, right? So this is the Sclearen method flow visualization, which we run in Satya Pharma University, right? So for Sclearen system construction and working, so here what we are considering is that we are not going to disturb the test section, but you are going to have this Sclearen arrangement, okay, outside the wind tunnel in this form. We have the light source, and then lens. So lens is nothing but parabolic lenses, and then we have the knife edge, and then we have the screen for recording that particular images, right? Or photographic plate, right? Dark plate, we will keep it on the screen region, right? So I had already told you about the working principle, that is the light ray is following the curved path, okay? The curved path is going towards or bending towards the region of higher density, and the curved path is going away from the region of lower density. So where high density occurs inside the test section, we will have the curved path. That curved path is given by means of radius of curvature. That curved path is given by means of radius of curvature. That radius of curvature is inversely proportional to refractive index. Radius of curvature of light of curved path travel is inversely proportional to refractive index, right? So by this we can have the relation as 1 by r is equal to gradient of n. 1 by r is equal to gradient of n. And you may know what is meant by gradient. So gradient is nothing but rho by dou x I vector is rho by dou y j vector. So with respect to two direction, that is here we are considering x and then z direction. So with respect to x and z direction, so instead of z I am considering it as y. So that rho by dou x I vector plus rho by dou y of j vector, we are considering the gradient. So the gradient value is generally useful for visualizing the density variation. How much will be the density variation, or how much will be the refractive index variation, right? When you are going to substitute this in this gradient formula, okay, so we could have this 1 by r. So we could have this 1 by r as rho n by rho x I vector plus rho n by rho y j vector, right? That is radius of curvature relation. Now you have to find the angular deflection. So total angular deflection. So when light passes through this particular thing, okay, so this particular light is getting deflected. So this light is getting deflected with respect to the high density flow. So the amount of deflection, we should record it. So the amount of deflection is here taken as epsilon. So total angular deflection is given by epsilon. Epsilon is equal to L by R. Epsilon is nothing but L by R. When you substitute the 1 by R relation here, okay, we could find the value of epsilon as in vector form as, so it is that L times dou n by dou x I vector plus dou n by dou y j vector, right? And we may also see that we could be able to find the value of epsilon x as L dou n by dou x, and then epsilon y as L dou n by dou y. So we could be able to find the value of from the total deflection which have been recorded from the high density flow. Okay, what are the total deflection with respect to change in refractive index? We have been calculated it, and then the same total deflection, with the help of the same total deflection, we could be able to find the value of density variation. So we have to relate these two functions. Okay, we have to relate these two functions with Gladstone-Dale formula. So according to Gladstone-Dale, okay, we may know what is n. N is equal to rho k plus 1. So we have to substitute this Gladstone-Dale formula instead of n, and we could be able to find the value of epsilon x as, so it is L k dou rho by dou x, and then epsilon y, angular deflection at y axis, is L k dou rho by dou y. So it's very simple that we were able to find the total angular deflection. So from total angular deflection, we were able to calculate refractive index as well as density of the particular flow occurrence, right? So this is the basic construction of a Sclareon system, right? And this is the twin mirror Sclareon system which have been used in Satyabama University. So here we are keeping two parabolic lenses, right? So mirror 1 and mirror 2. Sorry, this is mirror 2 and this is mirror 1. So we are just passing a source of light, this monochromatic light. This monochromatic light is passed through a parabolic mirror, and this parabolic mirror is shown up into the intersection, and it's getting reflected, and it is transmitted. The light is getting transmitted into the intersection, and the same is getting reflected with the help of second parabolic mirror, and then you are collecting this particular light with the help of knife edge, and then you are getting into the screen, right? So this is the twin mirror Sclareon system used in our university. So here, what is the main case is that instead of screen, okay, you can carry camera. So here we are carrying camera, so that we can visualize the effects of shocks in the camera. We can directly record it with the help of camera. If screen is there, means what happens, we could able to predict the value with respect to only one flow condition, that is when Mach number is increasing from 1 to 1.6, because the operating condition for that particular stage is about 2.1. So we have run the tunnel for up to the max speed of 2.1. We are not suddenly achieving the max speed of 2.1. It slowly increases from subsonic to supersonic case. So far from subsonic to supersonic case, let us consider from Mach number 1 to Mach number 2.1, we have some flow variation. With respect to the flow variation, oblique shock will be deviated from its path. So the oblique shock deviations at time to time it varies. So instead of screen, if we keep camera, we can have the recording unit completely for changing speed. So with respect to changing speed, we could record the oblique shock wave deflection in simple form, right? And then Now we are going to have the sensitivity analysis. So sensitivity analysis of Sclearance system. So it is said why we need this sensitivity analysis. So sensitivity analysis is that for each deflection of model, okay, what is the minimum pressure condition? What is the minimum pressure condition to operate at given Mach number? Right. So this is the sensitivity analysis. So for each deflection of model, means per degree of deflection. So per degree of deflection means 1 degree. So that is, you are considering it for theta is equal to 1 degree. So for theta is equal to 1 degree and then beta minus mu is equal to 1 degree, what is the output? What is the output Mach and minimum stagnation pressure, P naught minimum. Okay, we have to analyze it. So this is called as sensitivity analysis. When you are going to analyze this sensitivity, okay, we could have the accuracy of the Sclearance system. So when you do the sensitivity analysis, or when you try to bring out the Mach number and the minimum stagnation pressure condition, operating condition, we could have the accuracy. So that accuracy of the Sclearance system is determined. In such a way, we are recording the accuracy. So by sensitivity analysis, you could able to record the accuracy of the Sclearance system. If accuracy is more, then your reading is said to be the accurate reading, and from that accurate reading we could able to demolish, or we could able to find out the exact value which is happening inside the tunnel. Exact value which is happening inside the tunnel, it should be recognized, right? It should be recognized and in well advance we should calibrate it. When you have the advanced calibration, that is when you are going to use any kind of Sclearance system for recording for different Mach numbers, we should check with this minimum pressure condition. When it is operating beyond its level, when it is beyond its level means if you have the minimum pressure as 0.05 bar, still we have 0.03 bar. Okay, we are not having that much of accuracy in such kind of minimum pressure condition. So that we are not going to do this minimum pressure analysis. That is, it is not suitable. It is not the suitable one for driving the supersonic tunnel. That is, the Sclearance system with the Delport's Sclearance system, whatever the images you got is said to be the appropriate reading, not an appropriate reading, that is inaccurate reading. All the readings are inaccurate. So in order to make the accuracy very sharp, we have to record the sensitivity analysis of the supersonic wind tunnel, right? So for this Sclearance, for your sensitivity analysis, you are going to give some states. So what are the states? If you are considering an oblique shock, that is for this. Okay, if you are considering this as a flat plate which is having the deflection of theta is equal to 1 degree, so the small angular variation is theta is equal to 1 degree. For this theta is equal to 1 degree, you may have what? Oblique shock, and then you may have Mach wave. So this Mach wave is having with angle mu and this oblique shock is having the angle beta. So finally you are considering beta as well as mu. So beta minus mu also is around 1 degree. So theta is 1 degree and beta minus mu is also 1 degree. For this 1 degree of deflection, right, you have to find the density variation, and from density variation you are going to find the pressure variation. That pressure variation is minimum pressure variation for different Mach number. So for different Mach number, what is the minimum pressure ratio we have to calculate. So for this, what you are going to do, for this kind of flow field, what you are going to do is that for this kind of flow field, what we are going to do, you are considering Snell's law of reflection. We are considering Snell's law of refraction. It's very simple that it was founded by Landenberg during the year 1954, right? It's very simple relation that 1 plus 0.00293 0 degree Kelvin, that is 273 Kelvin for 0 degree Celsius, and then room temperature 293 Kelvin times P naught rho 1 minus rho 2 by rho naught equal to 1 minus epsilon tan theta. And you know what is meant by epsilon. Epsilon is nothing but angular deflection. But angular deflection of the light. So total angular deflection of the light is epsilon, and then you know theta. So this is the Snell's law of refraction. We are going to use this relation, and you know very well about a stagnation condition. So stagnation P naught and rho naught is stagnation pressure and stagnation density, and you have to know about rho 1 and rho 2. What is rho 1 and rho 2? So this is rho 1, and behind it is rho 2, that is m1, m2, and then we is supposed to have mn in between them. So normal Mach number also it is considered. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to simplify this relation by considering epsilon. So for this 1 degree of deflection, so for any 1 degree of deflection inside the high density flow, what happens to the value of epsilon? Now we are considering the angular deflection of shock as, so angular deflection of shock as 10 power minus 5, right? When you are considering it as 10 power minus 5 radians angular deflection of shock, and then when you are substituting all these values in this Bowie equation, right, here 1 in the left hand side and right hand side is getting cancelled, and finally after simplifying this term, right, after simplifying this constant term, we are getting 0.000273 P naught by rho naught, rho 1 minus rho 2 is equal to minus half, right, 10 power minus 5 tan theta. And after this, simplifying this, we are getting rho 2 minus rho 1, right, rho 2 minus rho 1 by rho naught equal to tan theta divided by 27.3 P naught. So rho 2 minus rho 1 by rho naught is equal to tan theta by 27.3 P naught. And you know, you don't know what is the stagnation pressure, that is what is the minimum stagnation pressure, still you have to find out, and then you have to find out the density variation, that is rho 2 minus rho 1 by rho naught, that is you have to find the value of rho 1 by rho naught initially. So for this rho 1 by rho naught, you are using the relation, so rho 1 by rho naught 1 plus gamma minus 1 divided by 2 m1 square minus of 1 by gamma minus 1. So you are using this particular density ratio relation. Using this relation, you can directly find the value of rho 1 by rho naught as 1 plus m1 square by 5 and then minus 5 by 2. So if we substitute gamma is equal to, so for gamma is equal to 1.4, since we are using air, for air specific heat constant is 1.4, so the 1.4 minus 1 is 0.4 by 2, it is 0.2, so 1 by 5 is 0.2. just we are replacing this from fractions, so decimal into fraction, just I have expanded this relation for your betterment of understanding, right? So it is rho 1 by rho naught, and after writing by rho naught, we have to find the value of rho 2 by rho 1. So for this rho 2 by rho naught, we have to find rho 2 by rho naught, so that we are going for density ratio of shock wave. So what is the density ratio of shock wave relation? It is rho 2 by rho 1 is equal to 6 m1 square by m1 square plus 5. That is, we have the oblique shock initially, but we could not use the oblique shock relation directly for all the cases. We have to convert that oblique shock into normal shock, and after that we have to find the absolute Mach number behind the oblique shock region. So that is, oblique shock varies with respect to different angles of deflection, which have been kept inside the supersonic tunnel, right? So that for every deflection we have to find the value of m1 square also. In well advanced, we have to find the value of m1 square, so that you are using the relation between shock angle and the Mach angle. For this, you are using the relation between shock angle and Mach angle. So what is your shock angle? Shock angle is beta and Mach angle is mu, right? So for shock angle, for any shock angle, sin beta, right? What is your sin beta? Sin beta is mn by m1, whereas what is your sin mu? Sin mu is 1 by m1. So instead of sin mu, that is 1 by m1, we can write it as sin beta is equal to mn sin mu. So this is the relation between shock angle and Mach angle, right? So with this help of sin beta and the u, right? So we know the shock angle for any deflection, that is, we can visualize with the help of this particular case, and then we know the Mach angle, so we could readily predict the value of m1 now. So after finding the value of m1, we could able to find the value of rho 2 by rho 1, and this particular rho 2 by rho 1 is said to be given in the equation of density difference equation, that is rho 2 minus rho 1 by rho naught is equal to tan theta by 27.3 p naught, which have been derived earlier. Now we are going to use the same relation here, and we are going to rearrange that relation. So how we are going to rearrange is that rho 2 minus rho 1 divided by rho 1 times rho 1 by rho naught, right? Just you are rewriting this equation as in this form, and then it is tan theta divided by 27.3 p naught, right? Now it is now after rearranging these steps, okay, it is rho 2 by rho 1, so you are using this rho 2 by rho 1 relation instead of this. So rho 2 by rho 1 minus 1, so instead of rho 2 by rho 1 minus 1, we are getting 5 times of mn square minus 1 divided by mn square plus 5 times rho 1 by rho naught equal to tan theta by 27.3 p naught, right? Now by this relation, you know the value of mn now, you know the value of rho 1 by rho naught now, and finally you are going to predict only the value of p naught, right? So in order to find the value of p naught, here what we are going to do is that we can able to find the value of p naught directly. So that is, from m1 we could able to find the value of m1. So when you find the value of mn, we get able to find the value of m1 using mu. So we have to consider the new relation called theta minus mu relation, which is nothing but 3 by 5 rho naught by rho 1 tan theta divided by 27.3 P naught square root of m1 square minus 1. So it is that. So you know sin beta and you know sin mu, right? And with the help of this sin beta and the sin mu, you are forming a new relation called sin beta minus mu. So from sin beta minus mu relation, we are having this particular equation, beta minus mu relation, right? For every 1 degree of reflection, theta, and then every 1 degree of change in shock angle and Mach angle. Okay, you are using this particular relation called this relation, and then you are finding the value of, for every Mach number, you are finding the value of minimum pressure difference, that is minimum stagnation pressure. So here this table shows minimum stagnation pressure for various cases. So here P naught is for 1.5, minimum pressure is 0.050. For 2, for 3, again all the minimum pressure is going to increase. When you are increasing the Mach number, minimum pressure is getting increased. For any 1 degree of deflection for sensitivity, for any 1 degree of deflection of sensitivity, if you want to record using this clearance system, you have to maintain this minimum stagnation pressure condition. Until then, you could able to accurately record the values of shock wave angle. Otherwise, shock wave angle which is produced or recorded using this clearance system is fully inaccurate. It's fully inaccurate and it is not up to the exact range. So in order to record the exact range of shock wave deflection which occurs naturally in physical phenomenon inside the test section, we need this kind of sensitivity analysis, right? Next we are going for shadow graph method. It's a very simple method. It is called as a direct method. So shadow graph method is called as a direct method. Just you are keeping a single lens, having the light, focusing light with a glass lens, and you are directing the light beam into the test section, and then behind the test section you are just keep the screens. With the help of screens or photographic sheets, you are directly recording the changes in supersonic flow visualization patterns, that is high density changes, high density of flow changes occurred inside the test section have been recorded directly in the recording screens. So this is called as direct method. It is completely different from clearance method, but the working principle is same. Here is also we are just following the shadow, but here the shadow is a direct shadow, it is not an inverted shadow. But in clearance image we are having the inverted form, that is we have the light which is passed into the object, it produces the due to reflection or refraction, it produces inverted image, and those inverted images should be collected with corrected image. So inverted image should be tilted and it should be sent back into the corrected image, so that clearance system requires 2 mirrors. But for shadow graph method we are using only a lens. Using a single lens we can readily visualize the object, but clearance system is colorful, and here the shadow graph method is colorless, because we should not produce any color slates in between the shadow graph method, right? So here what it is, this is the bullet moving at supersonic speed, right? It produces oblique shock wave around them. So we have oblique shock around them. This bullet shape is looking like some paraboloid shape or biconvex shape, bullet shape. This biconvex shape, it still produces Mach waves behind it. So Mach waves are still moving, all the Mach waves which is moving behind the bullet. So with respect to sound interference, we are seeing all the Mach waves which is going behind the. So the Mach angle is about 36.5 degree shock angle, with Mach number 1.6 around its range, and this is the subsonic flow where no shock waves is there is no shock wave, formation of shock wave. So since this bullet speed is less than 1, right? And this is the shadowgraph method, construction and working principle. Here I mean already told you, we have a point light source, and then just you are placing the lens ahead of the test section, and you are keeping the screen on the other side of the test section, and just you are visualizing the flow with the help of a simple shadow technique. For this simple shadow technique, here we are considering second derivative. For shadowgraph method, the light intensity of index of refraction is considered to be the second derivative. Why it is second derivative is that since the objects present in between them is having two glass windows. So since we are placing two glass windows, the light travel into the glass is having one differential part of index of refraction. The light passing through the other test section is having second differential of index of refraction. So we have two orders of images we are getting into the screen. So in order to bring out the actual amount of density, you have to integrate this quality. That is, you have to integrate twice in order to get the index of refraction. After getting index of refraction, you can substitute the value of Gladstone-Dale formula, and then you could be able to find the value of density. And then what is the density variation across the shock wave, right? And this is the model showing the barrel shock and the Mach disk. So this is the barrel shock. This is under expanded condition. So we have under expansion, over expansion, nominal expansion, three operating conditions of your nozzle, CD nozzle. So in this CD nozzle, it is going with under expansion condition where your normal pressure ratio is about 6, and then Mach number is about 1. Since 1 is an sonic case and still it is supersonic case, shock waves is occurred, and this complete shock wave pattern is called as barrel shock or else shock trains. Barrel shock or shock trains, right? And then in order to measure the light intensity, right? So intensity of light. So intensity of light recorded is nothing but k times tau square n by tau x square plus tau square n by tau y square. So with the help of this, we can measure the light intensity, and then in order to replace this value of n, you are following the Gladstone-Dale's formula. N is equal to k rho plus 1, right? So k rho plus 1, you are using this particular formula, and again you are substituting it, and you are finding the value of light intensity. By knowing the light intensity itself, we could be able to predict the value of order of refraction as well as density of that particular object can be visualized using shadowgraph method, right? Next, comparison. So what are the basic comparison of Sclearen and the shadowgraph method? So Sclearen method is fully depends on first derivative of refractive index, you know very well. And then for shadowgraph, since we have glass plates in between the supersonic flow, we are using the second derivative of refractive index, and then refractive index variation is relatively slow, where here refractive index variation is relatively high. Since refractive index is relatively high, what happens to the images which we have the high density occurrences is very maximum, and then and those readings may not be said to be accurate reading in shadowgraph technique, but in Sclearen technique the refractive index variation is relatively slow. So since it is very slow, we could be able to find the density variation in simple form, but here density variation is very difficult to calculate for shadowgraph, and then it is very simple to install. And it is low cost, and here it is also shadowgraph method is also low cost compared to Sclearen. So here in for sclerin you are using two lenses or two parabolic lenses, right? But here in shadowgraph you are going to use only one lens, right? So that is the major advantage of shadowgraph technique. And then we are using density of flow pattern, which is obtained by integrating the first derivative of refractive index. But here density of flow pattern is obtained by double integration, so you have to use double integration, and then you have to find the value of second derivative of refractive index, right? And then colorful flow patterns. So with the help of sclerin we are using color slit. You are placing color slit in the knife edge. So in the knife edge, when you place the color slits, you will obtain the colorful flow patterns. But here in shadowgraph, since we are not carrying any kind of knife edges behind the test screen, okay, or behind the test sections, right? We have only white and dark flow patterns are obtained, right? This method is supplemented, so it overcomes, this particular method overcomes all the interference and the shadowgraph method, and this particular method, for shadowgraph method, it overcomes the interference method. So we have interferometer. So compared to interferometer, shadowgraph is good, and compared to shadowgraph and interferometer, sclerin is said to be the best method of recording all the shock waves which are present or produced inside the supersonic membrane, right? Next, other flow visualization techniques. So in the beginning I have been told you about the other flow visualization techniques, which is going to happening in between 40 to 150 meter per second. So for 40 to 150 meter per second we are using tufts and then chemical coating. So what is meant by tufts and what is meant by chemical coating? Tufts is nothing but, here in this image we will see a feathery like structure which is getting sticked on the surface of the airfoil model, which is kept here. So in this, when the flow is getting above the airfoil model, okay, what happens to these tufts? So these tufts will be moving according to the direction of flow and direction of surface where high pressure or low pressure is acting. So when high pressure or low pressure, we have to find out the high pressure region and low pressure region. So the tufts where it is moving in that direction, we could able to find where the high pressure occurrence, and we can have the low pressure occurrence according to the movement of the tufts, right? And then we are having the same kind of conditions, that is tuft grid. So this is the tuft grid technique. So this tuft grid technique is that we are keeping a grid behind the test section. That is behind the test section we have a test section. Inside the test section we are keeping the model. So behind the test section, how the vortex formation is formed, we have to reduce that vortex formation, or we have to strengthen that vortex formation. So like this the study is there. So for that, what you are going to do, in order to record the turbulence action, or in order to measure the turbulence intensity, or in order to measure the vortex strength, what will be the movement, right? In order to measure the vortex strength, you are using this tuft grid technique. So here the vortex movement in the direction in this form. So here we could able to see this direct vortex motion in this form, and we have to find the strength of the vortex. We can really predict the strength of the vortex using this tuft grid technique, right? And then at last we are having the chemical coating. So this is nothing but chemical coating. So chemical coating is nothing but PSP, TSP, that is pressure sensitive paints, temperature sensitive paints, which is called a famous technique useful for intrusive as well as non-intrusive method. So here you are applying some coating on the particular model. So here this is said to be the jet, this is said to be the one kind of missile, or it is said to be the one kind of space shuttle, right? You are keeping it inside the tunnel. Here the pink color indicates, what does it pink color indicates? It is nothing but glowing paint, that is fluorescent paint. Here pressure sensitive paint is nothing but fluorescent paint. You have to apply some fluorescent paint. That fluorescent paint is called as chemical coating paint. So for this chemical coating paint, what are the components we are taking around is titanium dioxide with phosphorus. So you are considering titanium dioxide and the phosphorus, right? So when you are coating this particular material, first you have to initially paint with the help of primer, and then you have to apply this titanium dioxide and phosphorus solution around this, and after drying it, that is, this titanium dioxide and the phosphorus has been heated to some temperature, and then you have to coat it. After coating it, you have to keep this particular model inside the test section, and then when you run the wind tunnel, okay, the air which is having high pressure is exposed with a high amount of oxygen. The air which is exposed with low pressure is having low amount of oxygen. So oxygen with a higher amount is close brighten, and oxygen with a lower amount will close dim. So bright and dim. So bright light will expose to high pressure, and low dim will expose to low pressure. So this is the other flow visualization techniques which have been handled for apart from the other conditions like smoke flow tunnel. So intrusive method. Here is the other intrusive methods which we have been following for readily calculating the flow separation vortex as well as boundary separation points, right? So this is the condition. These are the techniques we have been handled for flow visualization and flow diagnostic purpose, right? In next session we will going to discuss about pressure measurement, temperature measurement and velocity measurement devices which are handled for wind tunnel, and then apart from that, pressure, temperature and velocity, we can also move out for some intrusive as well as non-intrusive method for velocity measurements, and then for temperature and pressure measurements we still need intrusive method of pressure and temperature measurements. So we will see in next class, and if you have any doubts you may comment in the comment box, as well as you can also mail me, right? If you have any doubts you can follow my WhatsApp number also. Thank you.